Welcome to Gardening Genes. My name is Kathy and this is my husband Tom. Tom and I are so excited to be introducing our garden to you today. We started building this garden 31 years ago when we built our house here in beautiful southern Rhode Island. We're currently listed as Zone 7A. We were changed from 6B last year. It is currently late April and it's a perfect time to start seeing what's coming up and what's in bloom. Here we are on the walkway right off of our back deck, and here we have some beautiful gardenia daffodils. They are extremely fragrant. You can smell them from the deck. A really nice treat first thing in the spring. And right next to those, we've got grape hyacinth, which have sort of reseeded themselves all over, but I'm actually good with that. They're beautiful to see first thing in the spring. And behind those are more daffodils, and I believe this one is Salome. This area is usually where we grow our tomato plants during the growing season, and we usually put in at least 20 plants of varying varieties. Right now it's being used for winter pot storage, and all along the deck are some beautiful white lion daffodils. If I turn in the other direction, we are now facing what we call Tom's Wall, and you can see some beautiful Japanese Andromeda in bloom, as well as some PJM hydrangeas behind it. We've got some lovely all gold Hakona Cloa grass coming up. We call it Tom's Wall because he built it one summer when I had asked him to build a set of stairs to go up this little hillside, and he just kept bringing home blocks week after week, and eventually we had this beautiful wall. There's also some evergreen carex growing on this. And as we look up the stairs, on either side of the stairs, there are tiny tough stuff hydrangea. Let's go on up and see what's up above. Here in the foreground, you can see a young orange dream Japanese maple, and its much older brother is behind it in the background. The Japanese maples always leaf out first, and we just love them. This is a ruby slippers oak leaf hydrangea, and it's just starting to leaf out. You can see the Japanese maple above it. On the ground, there's some more Hakona Cloa grass coming up, as well as some Bayakova geranium. We have foxglove, hosta. Hosta is going to have to get sprayed pretty soon for the deer. It's actually a little bit bigger than it should be before I started spraying it. And we have a lot of mature rhododendron on the property, which will, of course, be in bloom a little later in the season. And here's a lovely mixed group of daffodils. We've got some Dutch Master in there. Looks like, not sure which one that is. That might actually be Accent with the orange cup. I'll have to check that. Here we have some new spirea that we put in last year. These are double play doozies. I'm really looking forward to see how they do. They're supposed to be sterile, and they're supposed to have a prolonged bloom time. And behind them there is a rainbow Lakothwe. This is a new group of daffodils that we planted last fall. These are Mount Hood. They're almost pure white. And the next grouping that you see here are, I believe, there's some Barrett Browning in here. They have the smaller orange cup, and some of the Accent, which has a little larger orange cup. Very, very pretty. And in the distance, you can see some trees starting to bloom. So let's check that out next. This beautiful magnolia is almost in full bloom at this point. This is one of the first specimen trees that we planted back here after we cleared this part of the property. And I am sorry to say that I've lost track of what the exact name of this magnolia is, but it really is magnificent. So among the trees making their presence known right now is this lovely star magnolia. And it started blooming from the top down. So there are still buds yet to open at the bottom, but the top is what we first noticed. This tree is easily 45 feet tall by 25 feet wide. It is an example of why trees do keep growing beyond what they show on their tags, and you need to be aware of that if you're not going to go in and do some pruning to keep their size down. Here are some lovely forsythia blooming, and they are blooming very near some PJM rhododendron. It's a very nice combination. This area is notable for the colony of dicentra or bleeding heart that are growing here. It started from a couple of plants. Now there's probably 3 dozen of them growing out here. But they really are quite beautiful, both in pink and white. Here we have some ligularia starting to come up. These are a shade plant, and unfortunately these are going to have to be moved. We had a couple of very large trees that had to come down. You can see a stump right there. And the reason there's a new trellis here is because we have a peaches and cream honeysuckle that used to climb up the tree and now needs a support. Just across the path is what we call the Alaskan weeping cedar bed. You'll see why. But it has some really nice chorus growing in it, as well as bleeding heart. And what you see in front of you is actually a King's Gold Chamaecyparis that I keep trimmed down. And here is the weeping Alaskan cedar, looking very majestic. Moving along, there's more Acorus or Ogon grass, and one of the things I really like about this is that it grows anywhere. Under the cedar, where there's really almost entirely shade, it grows beautifully, yet in the next bed where it's in full sun, it grows just as well. This area is particularly pretty in the spring because of all of the scilla that have naturalized here. We probably planted 2 packages of a dozen bulbs 25-30 years ago, and now we have hundreds of them coming up, including in the lawn area, which is just fine. We just mow around them until they're done. They're here in the spring, and then they do their thing just like a daffodil or a tulip would, and then they're done. But so pretty. And if we head up the steps, we're now going to be in the shade of an extremely large European beech. And we've got some very nice hellebores here. These are new ones, but I'm sure that over the years they're going to really explode and become something really beautiful, big and beautiful. We also have pulmonaria here, which is supposedly deer resistant, but the deer have nibbled on some of this, so I stuck a little fence behind them just, again, as a little barrier. And we also have vinca growing in here that is now blooming in a beautiful blue. This is the Bowles Vinca minor. And then this leads up to the main lawn area, and you can see what we call the crescent bed in the distance. Now we're in the front of the house, and this is the front walkway. We have quite a few Japanese maples on the property. Here's a viridis that's just starting to leaf out. At some point, I'll have to just do a tour of Japanese maples. And on the ground, there's lily of the valley, one of those things that I wish I had actually never planted because it is so invasive and vigorous. Just goes everywhere. On the opposite side, there's a Gerard's fuchsia azalea. Buds are swelling, getting ready to bloom. And behind that is a Nico blue hydrangea. It's going to be a great hydrangea year because all of the macrophylla hydrangeas, the big leaf hydrangeas, had no dieback on them whatsoever. And we have some small hosta and heuchera starting to pop up. It's time for me to get the deer spray out. This bed hasn't been cleaned out or mulched yet, so it's still looking a little rough after the winter. But we'll get there. Some nice astilbe starting to come up. And we have my Monet, Weigelia, just starting to leaf out as well. As we go down the path, you can see the grape hyacinth that, again, we planted some of it early on and it's reseeded itself in various places, but it's really refreshing to see in the spring. And some pretty blue regular hyacinth. And this is a lion's mane Japanese maple, which I really love. I love the dense leaf structure of it. Really pretty. So now we've walked across a little bit of the lawn area, some Siberian iris popping up, and this is rainbow leucothea. And you can see that the buds are starting to swell here. These will be in flower soon. And around the corner, some gold mound spirea. And behind them is another PJM rhododendron. Those are the rhododendron that are in bloom at this time of the year. So now we're walking around in front of what we just call the big rock. And in fact, when the plants were very small, when we first moved in, we used to tell people to look for the house with the big rock in front of it. It's really the tip of an iceberg. And in front of it, there are more daffodils. This looks like Barrett Browning with the small orange cup. The bed is lined with boxwood. These are Franklin's Gem. It's a low-growing boxwood, and you can see that there are peonies that are coming up behind them. And in the middle is another Japanese maple. This one we don't know the name of. It has a leaf like a viridis, but it's an upright. We hope you enjoyed our video today, and I hope you'll join us again next time on Gardening Genes.